you.
We could do some ASMR.
You know what? I might just go. I might just say, you know what? Screw college. I'm just gonna do ASMR
Honestly,
and go on Twitch.
that's an option. I might do that.
Do it as your second job.
My like fifth job.
Oh, well, hello. I'm sorry for the very interesting intro there. This is Part-Time Weirdos. I'm your host, Zach Freeman, and today I have my good friend Gidget here.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm pretty good. I feel like I sound like a 5-year-old, like with this microphone. Like,
Nah,
hello.
you always do voiceover work.
No, I don't think I could.
You'd be surprised, like for the range that you could probably do, you make a lot of money.
I feel like my sister could, because she can sing like bass, like opera.
Really?
Yeah, she has like a pretty high pitched voice, and she's got range.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
You could plug in your sister right there.
Yeah, there you go. No, I don't. She doesn't need any more attention.
I feel that. So Gidget, tell me about yourself. Like, what makes you you?
I feel like that's a hard question to answer because every part of my life kind of makes me me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really have a traditional childhood, but I think like one of like the like most like determining factors of my life is probably PBS. This is not a plug for PBS. I'm not sponsored by them, but like growing up just like watching like Mr. Rogers and Arthur, and then like the British dramas.
I remember those.
Yeah.
Like Keeping Up Appearances.
Oh my god, yeah. Hyacinth. And like the mysteries, like I feel like I didn't have cable, so like that was like the only like TV I watched. So I feel like if that you can take from that, like that makes me me. All of the weird
PBS shows on there.
Yeah.
Like Wishbone.
I didn't see Wishbone.
It was kind of like Reading Rainbow, but it was like with a dog, and the dog would like reenact like the stories.
And it was a Wishbone dog.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds familiar.
And
but I was more of a Reading Rainbow kind of gal.
I feel that. So what was your favorite show? Going back to that.
Like favorite kid shows. Oh my god, I just like had a flashback. I did not remember this. But my favorite shows were Mr. Rogers, and I feel like if you like you know me, like that shows a lot of my personality.
Mm-hmm. You have a warmth to you.
Oh, thank you. I try to be like the little brown Mr. Rogers. So that and Arthur were my two favorites, and then I just remembered Maya and Miguel.
Oh, I remember that show.
Oh my god, I need to watch that. I'm gonna do that after this.
Why you like that show so much?
It was just funny, and my sister like would always like reference it, and it's just like one of those things that would just like make me laugh.
Okay, so like, what are you studying right now?
I'm studying fine arts, and my minor is education and psychology, so double minor.
Double minor, okay. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
It's a lot. It's a lot of work. The fine arts, like, I didn't really know what I wanted to do until I was a senior in high school. Like, I had no idea, like, what life was. I was like, oh my god, I have to, like, choose a major. Like, I'm, like, 17. What is happening?
Yeah, it's like, I'm sorry, I interrupted your story, but it's just, like, the whole, like, at least the American way of, like, doing, like, high school to college, they tell you like to follow like these specific like rules in school.
Yep.
And then it's like, okay, so what do you want to do when you get out? And it's like you don't really give a lot of your students like that creativity to like explore what they want to do.
Yeah, and I know like especially American culture is kind of just like the pressure of you can only do one thing, and like once you make that choice, like you're stuck with that. You're gonna do that your whole life. And that's what I kind of like had that mindset. I was like, oh my god, like I have to choose something. But like that's not true. Like you can change your major. Like you can drop out of school, like go back like 10 years later, and like you'll be fine.
Right.
And I think a lot of other places nurture that. I decided to go into this because when I was in high school, I started learning about like genocides and like like war and like all like that fun stuff, like contemporary world affairs. And I started getting more in touch with my Native American heritage and like learning all about this. And I heard from a friend about this place called the City of Joy in the Congo, and they help like women who are survivors of like genocide and like domestic violence and things like that. And they use art therapy, and art therapy is the most beneficial therapy for survivors of what I just said, like genocide and domestic violence. And I knew I always wanted to like work with people and help people, and I knew I was always very creative, so I kind of just like combined the two, and I was like, I can do something with this. So
that's pretty cool.
Thank you. Hopefully, if I like make it through grad school.
Oh, so you like, what are you going to grad school for?
I have to do my master's either in art therapy specifically or psychology, so I can have a career in art therapy.
So, which one are you leaning towards right now?
I honestly don't know, because I'm gonna take some time
to think about it.
I need some time off of school after I graduate this year, because
it's a lot.
Yeah. Yep. Just like writing papers, and like a lot of them are just like papers like I just don't care about. Like, why am I writing like this 5-page essay on like arches in churches? I don't know.
It like doesn't really apply to what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
You want to work with like people rather than just like some 1800-year-old like building.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah. Like, it's interesting, sure, but like not 5 pages worth. For me, anyway.
Yeah. No, I understand. It's just like keep it more relevant to you rather than going back to a history I really don't care about.
Yeah.
No.
Especially a white history that's been forced down my throat my whole life.
No, I feel that.
Yeah.
I didn't really like get in touch with like I told you before, like my Native American like heritage until like a few years ago, because I was having a conversation with my grandmother one day, and I just brought up the question. I was like, because it was like when I was trying to figure out like what other races I was.
Yeah.
Because like you look like most people look at me just like, oh, he's just black as hell.
Yeah.
I actually used to be darker than this before I started college.
Did Chicago like make you paler?
No, I actually started college in Rochester, New York.
Oh.
I was like upstate New York, and my first year, so it was after my first semester, going into like the second semester, I was working like in the lab all day because I was just doing design work and math, and I was miserable. So I was like cooped up in my dorm, like the whole winter semester. And I remember also it snowed almost every day that whole semester.
That sounds so fun.
Yeah, and I didn't see the sun until April 23rd.
Oh my God.
Like, it was cloudy every day. I did not see the sun for like 4 months.
Oh my God.
So I guess I just lost some melanin and I just lightened up a little bit.
That happens because like people like don't believe me when I say like this isn't my normal shade. Like, I'm pale right now. People are like, oh my God, you're so tan. I'm like, that's because
it's the weather. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm so pale right now. Like I have like a yellowish pigmentation. That's just because normally it's like more red.
Yeah.
And just darker, but winter it changes us.
But it was just like, yeah, because like I was just kind of curious because like I wanted to like know about like where my ancestors came from and stuff like that. And her father was like full blood like Native American, but she's 80 plus years old. She doesn't really remember what he told her. And my his grandfather is from Germany, because I think he came like right before the war started.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And there might be some Asian in there. I'm not entirely sure. We're gonna leave that off to the side. That's more on my dad's side, but
yeah,
we don't talk about him.
Yeah. No, I think we have the same or like similar background because my mom is half Native American, and my mother's grandparents came from Denmark and Germany. So grandpa was Denmark, grandma was Germany, and then on my dad's side, he's Black and Native American, and there's like I only heard like a few stories, or like I have like some great grandma who was from China. So like yeah, it's like
it's just like
it's the same.
it's just like it's Australian mystery, really.
Yep.
But speaking of like a Native American stuff, I wanted to ask you this question. Like, what's your opinion on like Native American representation in media, like the goods and the bads?
The goods. I don't know many good things. Like I know like there's been like the like BuzzFeed videos or something like where they like interview like actual Native Americans like on like this issue of like representation and things like that. And I think that is very helpful because like BuzzFeed is like
It's
like,
BuzzFeed.
It's like mass produced and like mass consumed. So I do think like those are like good for like, you know, like people to like watch those videos and just be like, oh, like they still exist, like
We're still around.
yeah, like these people are here, and like it's more normalized, like they're not kind of like held at this like spiritual like pedestal, like where a lot of like Native Americans can be just like kind of just like so like otherworldly and like othered. It makes us more human, and I think that's the big part of it, just like makes us more human.
Yeah, normalizing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in terms of just like movies and shows, I don't really ever see like any.
Yeah.
Like I know like there's like a handful, but like even in Kimmy Schmidt, like I know like it's like a satire, and so like I understand like why like they are represented in that way, but like and even having like Jacqueline, like that actress who is white, be someone who's Native American, like that was like a bit but like I understand like why they did it because it is a satire.
Right.
But like even the other day I was just watching, don't judge me for this, I was watching Sabrina, and like it was like the smallest little scene, but like it was still just like, oh my god, why did they not cut that out? There was a Halloween party, and there was this girl in the background who was dressed in a Native American costume.
She had the headdress on?
Yes.
Oh.
And I was just like I know she was probably just like an extra who was just like told to like wear a costume and like show up to this place. Because like I know like that's a lot of extras like will just like wear their own
Stuff, yeah.
So like it probably was something like that, but like even for like no one to just like see them be like, hey, like step out of this scene, like don't do that, and just
be respectful, really.
Like that was just like I just like my heart like dropped to my stomach, and I was like, oh no, like they did that. Like how many people like saw that they didn't cut it out? Like yeah, that was annoying. Yep.
So you work with children, right?
Yes, I do.
Tell me about that.
I've never like really had completely volatile child, and like I think I just like I have an understanding with kids because like in my own childhood there were a lot of people who didn't understand me, and so like I want to be the person who understands them, because I know like growing up like I had like maybe like one teacher my whole childhood who like she just got me and she helped me so much, and like I know what that person can be like for a child. So like even if a child is like acting out or whatever, like there's always a reason. Like I try to like understand the reason and just like help them cope with it, but sometimes they're just like absolutely wonderful. And there's this one location I work at where they're all toddlers, and this one classroom, like all the kids in there, like I swear they're like fairies. Like they have like the most magical hugs, and like they're always just like so like wonderful and whimsical, and I'm like, how are you real? So like they give me hope for humanity, which is nice.
Yeah, I'll say like not all children are like that. It's just like depending on like what their upbringing is.
Yeah.
And like how their family is, that can really affect like when they get to like preschool, first grade, and all that other stuff. That's when their environment really affects like their behavior.
Yeah, and like I can really tell in some situations just like how like certain families are, just based on like how the kids like responds to authority and other kids and whatever.
Okay. Do you think that this is like a big difference between like how we were raised compared to like this new generation of children?
I do think there's obviously going to be like some differences, like maybe like some things that are more extreme or like just implemented more. But like technology is a big part of that, and at least at the schools I work at, we don't really have screen time. Like we'll have like a computer like lab or like a computer room or whatever, and like they have a select time like where they can practice like typing and just like learning about technology. I think like that aspect is more so like if you're like a babysitter or a nanny than an actual like teacher in the classroom, because like we don't like allow phones or things like that in the classroom. And I work mostly with like preschoolers or like kindergarten or babies, and like that would be so disturbing if like we handed them an iPad. But I know parents do that at home. Like they'll like give their kid like a 3-year-old or 2-year-old like an iPhone, and just like they know how to work it. And I'm just like that's so disturbing to me.
Why? I asked why because I know I know a few people who do this. I was actually out yesterday, and this one lady, she had like an iPad. I was away like at like CVS or something, and we were in line. This one lady, she just gave her toddler iPad. He's like watching YouTube or something like that. Then and her other kid had like her iPhone. He was like playing like Candy Crush or something like that.
Oh my God. Yeah, like, okay, I don't want to like judge like disclaimer. Like, I understand like, you know, like as a parent, like even like a single parent or whatever, like it's a lot, like, you know, just having your kid like taking them out to the store, like they might have a tantrum or whatever.
Yeah,
that's understandable. I just think it's important to like be mindful that, for one, we honestly don't know like what that does to human development. Like we haven't had that technology for long enough to like know the long-term effects of what that amount of screen time at such a young age does.
Cause like I grew up. You might have too. I grew up around the time where all this technology was like in its early phases. Like my first phone was like a Cricket flip phone.
Yeah.
Like if I wanted to send a text to you, it'll take me at least 2 to 3 minutes. And forget about watching a video on that thing. Like it wasn't gonna happen.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, oh, I can just do pretty much everything I could do on my computer from like a mobile device. And there's not, and since we weren't like being babysat by this technology growing up, we're going to be different from where a child who's pretty much been attached to this whole device since they were born, they're going to react differently long term.
Yeah, like that. I don't know. I think it's just like important to be mindful of just what we don't know. I think that's like where like a lot of like my fear comes in, because like we've even like had studies like where like even now like adults who like are very into technology, like there is a lot of like communication that has been lost, like in-person communication that's been lost from technology,
like social skills and stuff. Yeah.
And like having that at a young age, like that disturbs me. And like there's even kids who at school who like will swipe at a book or a picture because they think it's a tablet, and like they don't understand the real world, what's in front of them. They just think of the digital world.
Yeah, it's actually like part of like a reason, like this whole like big move on YouTube. I think we had like this conversation like on Friday.
Yeah.
About like how YouTube's making like this, they're like complying with like this child protection program, because like you have all these people like making content that's geared towards children, but it's actually like negatively affecting them. And plus you got these pedophiles and all this other shit there. And
autoplay.
Yeah, like parents, if you're going to give your child like YouTube, turn off autoplay. It's super, because you don't know what's going to play after that. You might give them Teletubbies 1 minute, like 2 minutes later you're watching that Spider-Man Elsa video.
Oh my God. I didn't even see that, but I don't want to.
It's still up. That's what really kills me. It's like it says it's geared towards children, but everybody knows it isn't. But they still have it up.
That's disturbing. Like I know, like as I said, like you have to like every parent like has different styles and like what works for them. Like if that works for you, great. Just with anything, with great power comes great responsibility. And the internet is a great power. We just, especially like with the children, we need to be responsible in guiding them.
Be mindful of like what you're showing like younger children, because like I said, you never know what they're going to be exposed to.
No.
This actually leads into my next question. Do you think technology will overtake parenting within the next decade or so?
I certainly hope not. I don't think so. Like I think it has taken over, at least on a level like nannies or like babysitters. Because it is like much easier just like to sit your kid in front of like an iPad and do whatever, than hire someone to play with your kid. Like if you just can't, like if you don't have the time or whatever.
Right.
But like you're thinking of like robots and things like that. Is that what your question is going?
Just like having technology, just like you said, like with like iPads and stuff like that. 'Cause I think our version was like having, we come into class, and then when the teacher rolled out like the TV on the stand with the VCR.
Yeah.
Like that could have been our thing, especially like towards the end of the year, which is like, okay, we're gonna watch like Winnie the Pooh or something.
Yeah, but we had like a good like 10 minutes of them trying to figure out how to rewind the tape first. Those were the good old days.
Yeah.
But I don't really see it happening more than it already is now. If anything, I feel like it'll be calmer. Because I think we are still in the infancy of like this digital world of like understanding it. And like every year like we do progress and like we get so excited, but I think people now are like maybe like going to start calming down and being like, okay, we understand this, like this isn't as novel anymore.
Try to mitigate everything.
Yeah. I don't know. In the next 10 years, I feel like it'll start like slowly be getting less. Because even in like media and things like that, you'll see like, and I'm like thinking of like, sorry, my stomach is growling.
It's okay.
I'm thinking of like films and like stories, like people are trying to like usually getting like more back into nature and like the natural world. That just might be like my optimistic mind.
We got all hope for it. We'll see.
Yeah.
So I remember like earlier when we first met, you said you worked in Australia for
I
like
did.
Like what do you do there?
Well, I was studying abroad. So I was there for 2 semesters. The first semester I was there for 4 months, and then I went back to the US of A. And then I finished my second semester in Australia. And it feels like a completely different life.
How so?
It was, oh my God. I had never seen the ocean until I was 20. And that was only, like, I went there, like, just, like, for, like, a little vacation for spring break to San Francisco. And I saw the ocean for the first time. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then 2 months after that, I was in Australia living by the ocean, like, where I could, like, walk down to the beach whenever I wanted. And to me, like, that was, like, the weirdest but most wonderful thing. Just, like, being by the ocean and just, like, learning about, like, surfing and just, like, that, like, Australian beach culture, which I'd never really experienced before.
Never really thought about that. Like, I knew, like, Australia had, like, beaches and stuff, but it was, like, usually when you think about Australia, it's just, like, mainland stuff, like the desert or just, like, people talking with, like, weird accents and koalas and stuff like that.
Wait, that's your picture of Australia?
No, this was, like, the general, like, picture of Australia.
And, like, poisonous everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. All of that is true. And I don't know, like, people, like, the slang was so weird, and yeah, I couldn't really get used to it. But I did develop sort of an accent, and it's so annoying because I don't want to be that person who, like, comes back from, like,
a different country with the accent.
Yeah, and be, like, that pretentious, abhorrent human. But that's what I became. And I had to, like, even, like, I work so hard, like, not to. But at night, even now, like, after a semester being back, I will find myself, like, if I'm tired enough, like, I'll start talking.
With the accent?
Yeah.
What does it sound like?
I don't want to... I feel like it does creep out, like, with certain words. But it was also just, like, it wasn't a completely Australian accent because a lot of my friends were from like different countries. Like they might have been from like England or Kenya or France.
So you all have like different interpretations of that same accent.
So like it's like kind of like a mesh of all of those. And like I sometimes find myself like it almost sounds Canadian at times. Like
that's interesting.
I catch myself just like it's horrible. Like I'll say like a boot.
A boot.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, that's not no.
A boot.
Like I can't.
About. Oh,
yeah,
okay. It's like...
a boot, and yeah, it's not fun.
But you did like you still enjoyed yourself there, right?
Oh, I loved it. Yeah, because I got to not really care. Like I probably shouldn't say this on record, but like when you study abroad, your grades don't matter. Yikes, I said it. But as long as you pass the class, like they won't affect your GPA. Like it'll just count as you passed. That's it. And so I definitely slacked a lot. Like I just like made sure I passed, got a passing grade.
Just kept on going.
Yeah, kept on going, and it's like that gave me more time to like do, like things like explore and like work.
Well, yeah, you're in a whole different country. You need to like at least like go around see what's what.
Yeah, so like that was pretty cool.
Because you never know when you'll get that same chance again.
Yeah.
Not saying you should just say I'm just not gonna do my homework.
Yeah, no, like okay, like I
like,
feel like
no,
if you
fine.
study abroad, like you have to like have like you have to be accepted. At least I did here to study abroad. Like you have to have like show that like you're a good student, and I feel like if you are a good student, you want to give yourself a break, study abroad, but then when you come back, make sure you can get back in the mindset because I had trouble. I'm still kind of in a slacking stage right now, but I'm a senior.
We're almost out of here.
Yeah, I'm ready.
So what do you want to do after you graduate?
That is all of these are loaded questions.
I know, right? I should call this the Loaded Podcast.
Oh my God. Yeah. I might just stay in Chicago and teach for a bit. My stomach is growling. Yeah, I might.
Is that like a specific subject that you want to teach, or just
like preschool and kindergarten, or what I think I might like. What I probably am gonna do is just like stay in Chicago, like teach a couple days a week, because I can still choose my own schedule, and then work on music. That's just like.
Oh, I know you did music.
Oh yeah, I'm trying.
You're trying.
She's trying.
What kind of music do you do?
I would probably, maybe alternative. I don't know. Like imagine like 1975 like synths and like bass, but with tribal drum beats.
Ooh. And
whatever you describe my vocals as, I don't know.
So you like sing over it too?
Yep.
Oh, look, when you get your SoundCloud ready, hit me up.
All right.
I want to listen to that.
Okay. Oh, wait, do you know FKA Twigs?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is a kind of like similar to her vibe.
Okay.
But.
Yeah, I might like have a few, like a song or two from them.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I feel that.
That's what I'm trying to do anyway.
Cause I know you do like a little vintage look with everything you do.
I do.
So you're trying to like match that with like your music aesthetic as well?
I guess. I don't know. Like, I am the worst person at describing myself and anything that I do. Like, do I have a vintage?
I wouldn't say it's like vintage, but it's like, I don't know. Don't take this the wrong way.
Oh, no.
It kind of like reminds me of like a grandma.
Oh my God, that is the best thing anyone could say. That's the best compliment.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, you remind me of my grandma, like just but younger.
Okay, when she was younger.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like she got hit by like an age ray or something.
Oh my God, no! My friends always say that I'm like, I'm the grandma of the friend group.
I get called dad.
Really?
Or uncle. Yeah. Uncle's worse.
Yeah, cause like I feel like a mom is kind of like more like cautious and like more panicky.
Yeah.
But the grandma has people will listen to the grandma, but also the grandma can be like more whimsical. So I'm like,
And like I'm old, I can say wherever I want to. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, that's a good thing. My sister, I think she described because I have like three, I have like three different styles according to my sister. The first one she said was like just hippie, like boho hippie. The other one, I think she said fairy godmother.
I can see that.
Yeah. So like either hippie, fairy godmother, or just like emo hippie. Emo hippie, which I guess would be like wearing like long black skirts.
I can see.
And,
I mean, I kind of see how those two will mix together.
Yeah, like long black skirts and like a emo band crop top. Like yeah, those are my three styles.
And like have some big like high heel boots.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I can see you wearing that now.
Yeah, those are my three personalities. Are we recording?
A little bit.
Oh, what?
Just a little bit.
What does that mean? You either are or you aren't.
Oh yeah, we're not sponsored, but I have a book coming out in next year. 2 books coming out next year.
2 books.
Yeah, I'm working on finding a publisher for the second one. I'm not gonna get into it right now because I know I'm still trying to like get all done.
Yeah.
Finalizing everything, but look out for those.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll have probably more information next week, so we'll talk about that then. But.
That's exciting. What are they? Is it like about like all the crazy experience you had in Memphis?
So no, that book I'm still working on that one. That one I've been writing this book for 10 years, but I want to see where I end up after this. So after college, where is probably where I'll probably end the book.
Okay.
So I'm like so I would say in terms of like where I am for the book, I'm like in the last arc, I would say.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I tell like when I told you like when I almost got kidnapped and like other stuff like that.
Yeah.
People just like, why haven't you wrote a book about it? I'm like, it's getting there. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure after I graduate and like move to the like West Coast for like work and stuff, I'm sure other stuff is gonna happen too. So I'd rather have everything documented than I finish early than all this other weird shit happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's understandable. I have 2 stories I'm trying to work on. One of them is surprise, a children's book.
Okay.
But it's based off of my dad's childhood.
Oh.
And like I kind of want to like do kind of like it'd be like just kind of like funny thing my dad he thought of like taking like all like those like crazy stories, like making it a children's book and like coming out with that, and then like a few years later coming out with like what actually happened.
Oh.
Like what like all like those things were like what the characters meant and everything.
It's like a behind the scenes book.
Yeah, and kind of like destroy everyone's childhood. Yeah. So like, that's one story I want to tell. And then I thought of the series of doing like each like book or like volume would be like someone in my family. So starting with my great grandma, my grandma, my dad, and then me, like my story. Because we have a crazy family.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Everybody's family's a little crazy.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Too much for mine.
Much. Oh. Anything you want to talk about in terms of that?
It's honestly, it's too much. Like pretty much like any dramatic, hilarious, and horrible thing you could imagine in a family, like that's my family.
I got you.
Like when I say everything, I mean everything.
I'm trying to picture what it like one thing it could be, but I'm probably right anyway.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we have like I don't know like I don't know how dark we can make this podcast.
Well, I was going to actually give a little solemn story today because I remember you gave a story about an incident where you were deceased.
Yeah.
I was going to I actually had a story. I had almost a very similar experience.
Okay.
So if you're kind of squeamish, I would say skip like the next 10-15 minutes. Hopefully we'll be done talking about it by then. But
actually, don't skip. Go through it.
Yeah.
Fight your fears.
It's not that bad.
You're gonna get like all like hate comments now.
Yeah, it's not. It's not like bloody, gruesome, but it gets pretty real.
Okay.
So just get ready for that. It's a little trigger warning for you. Okay, so the story I'm about to tell you, it takes place about just a little about 10, 11 years ago. Again, another Memphis story, and takes place when I was like 13, 14 years old. It's kind of hard for me to remember because those 2 years kind of like fall in line with one another, because that's why I think that's when my depression started. So it's just like those 2 years just like bled together, so I don't really remember much to differentiate from them.
Yeah.
A suburb up north, so this is my first time like actually having a house, because I had lived in apartments like my whole life. So
me too.
Yeah.
Never lived in a house. Even now I have a studio apartment.
Yeah. So it was just like it's like for the first time of like, well, we always went to my grandma's house, because like her and my grandfather, they had like a place in South Memphis. We go there like almost every day, but like having like we had like a huge backyard too. It was like on the slope.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's like we had the shed down at the bottom, and then it had a gate at the bottom, and then it led into like a park where people like go to play football and stuff. But it was nice. So we live in this little neighborhood in Raleigh, and then up the street there were these two boys. They were a little bit older. Well, it was a younger brother and an older brother. I can't remember the older brother's name, but I'm gonna call him Lucas.
Okay.
And the other younger brother's name, I'm gonna call him Zeke. Me and him had the same like initials. Like I said, it's been a long time, so I don't remember their names exactly. But you got Lucas, you got Lucas and Zeke. Now these two, they were getting into trouble a lot because they went to a public school.
Oh.
And sometimes that drama that went from the public school would like come back here. So they live like so my street was like a circle almost. So you would turn in, it makes like a full circle, and they live like on the other half of the circle.
Okay.
And thing is though, people would like when people were like going around, they would mistake me for him because we looked very similar.
It's just racist.
Yeah. Oh, you'd be surprised how many times people thought I was Kenyan or like from Nigeria.
Really?
Yeah. To this day, I'll go home and they'll be like, "Where you from?" I'm like,
"You don't even look Kenyan."
Yeah. Again, that's back when I was darker. Because me and him had like the same complexion, but the main thing is he always wore like a wife beater or like a dirty like white t-shirt.
Yeah.
He had like a dirty mohawk.
Oh.
Yeah. So one day, the four of us were hanging out, and then Zeke and Lucas come over, and at this point everybody knows they've been stealing bikes across like the whole neighborhood.
They stole bikes?
Yeah, they stole bikes.
It's just rude.
And they coming over there, they're just talking about whatever, and we're just like, yeah, cool. Well, that's fun. I remember Zeke saying something about he was going to get into a fight with this one guy at his school because they were getting into it. And then you know how kids in the hood, they'd be like, yeah, I'm going to bust the trunk on him, whatever. It's like, you ain't doing shit. Yeah, you go get hit once, and then you go home, and then you go tell your mom, so on and so forth. And that's why, honestly, that's the type of person he was. He was like all like, he talked big, but he wasn't really doing anything. So that was on a Sunday. I remember this much. It was on Sunday, and then I remember they had to go back home because they had to like do something, and their parents are always looking for them because they were causing trouble and shit. So the following weekend, that Saturday, they had came by our street again, and they said, "Look, if anybody come over here, we ain't home." We're like, okay. And at this point, it's like me and my next door neighbor D. He was just like, okay, whatever. And so after that, I didn't see them for like 2 months.
Oh. What?
Yeah, they just disappeared. But to be fair, we didn't really miss them. We just happened to know, like, oh, they don't come over here anymore.
Yeah.
So 2 months goes by. I remember, this is when it gets kind of real. So I'm sitting on my late grandma's car. My stepfather's car is like in their driveway.
Yeah.
And there's like a tree like right next to it. So I would sometimes what I would do is like just go outside, just like playing my Game Boy Advance, playing Pokemon, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember it was going to rain soon, so I was like trying to hurry up and finish this fight. I was fighting a gym leader. I don't remember which one it was. I was fighting this gym leader, and I was just chilling. And I remember my parents were out of town. Well, one was working late. He was working double shift. He's now a detective.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And my mom was like at like a church retreat or something like that. So it was just my grandfather at the house at the time. He was supposed to watch us until our stepdad came home. So I'm playing the game, and I remember when I said like how the street is like a circle.
Mm-hmm.
I remember this guy on his bike is coming through, on it, just like looking around. Then he looks at me, and he keeps going.
Yeah.
And 10 minutes later, same guy comes back on the bike, looks at me again. And he didn't, like, this time he's like squinting at me, like as he's passing by. I'm like, okay, that's weird. Whatever. Another 10 minutes goes by. And this time I can see him like at the edge of the street before he turns over here. And he's like, I think he's like on the phone with somebody. I couldn't really tell.
Yeah.
But at this point, I was like, okay, he's being kind of weird. I think, so I was like, let me go ahead and finish playing the game and go inside. You okay?
Yeah, I'm just wondering. I'm just listening.
Yeah. So yeah, this guy, he's just like on the edge of the street, just like glaring at me. Like he was far away for me to not see his face, but I could tell what he was doing.
Yeah.
Because my parents work in law enforcement, so I can tell when somebody's being kind of sketchy.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at him. I'm like trying to gauge what the hell he's supposed to be doing. And I'm like, okay, whatever. He's not hurting anybody. If he walks up to me, then yeah, I might run the house. So he comes back for a third time, but he like slows down like a lot. At first he was just like zooming through.
Yeah.
This time he takes his time. He's going very slowly. So I look up, and he starts reaching like under his shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And he pulls out a Magnum. At least I think it was. I don't remember. But I remember he pulls out a Magnum, and I heard 3 shots.
Oh, my God.
The first one missed me. The second one grazed my stomach. And I think the third one either hit my back or like bounced off and hit my leg. I don't remember. And all I think is, oh, shit, I'm thinking this is it. This is how I die.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, when I heard the first shot, I roll off the car, and I try to get under it. And then by then, 2 more shots went off. And then, I roll off, and then I see him, and then I get, like, under the car, kind of, sort of, but I was like, I don't remember what was going through. I just remember I need to move. I just need to, like, get out the way.
Yeah.
And so I get under the car, and like I can see him like pulling off, but he stops halfway, looks back at me. He's like, as in, he realized he shot the wrong person.
Yeah.
And then he just pulls off.
Oh my God.
And then I'm just sitting there, and I'm in the worst kind of pain. Like, I know a lot of adrenaline was like going through me, but it was, even still, I was just like, I can't feel my stomach. Parts of me were just like on fire. But it's like I felt like if I move, he's gonna come back. So I sat there for a minute, and I'm like, I wasn't like bleeding like all over the place, but I could feel myself like fading in and out.
Yeah.
And then I hear like the front door of my house like open, and then I think my grandfather saw me. That's when I passed out.
So when you were shot, like, did you feel it at first, or were you still just kind of like freaking out? Like,
I was freaking out at first. I didn't feel it until like I sat till he pulled off, cause I was still in that fight or flight mode. I was like, I don't know what he's gonna do, so I just sat there. trying to play dead essentially.
Oh my god.
Then like when I knew for a fact he was like far enough away, so I know that he thinks I'm dead, or like when he said, like when I saw his face, like realizing that he shot the wrong person.
Yeah. Okay. He drove past. Like this dude's an idiot.
Yeah.
He drove past 3 times and he didn't notice you were the wrong person until after he shot you.
Yeah. That's Memphis logic. That's what we call it.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Do you still have like scars?
Yes, I have like a little ding on my stomach right here. I think I have one from where I fell on the right side of my back. I don't remember. Like I know I had the scar there, but I don't know where I got. Like I don't know if it's from the shot or just me falling on a whole bunch of rocks.
Would you describe that as the worst? Sorry, this is turning to me interviewing you.
Mm-hmm.
Would you describe that as like the worst pain you've ever experienced? No.
No.
What's the worst pain you've ever experienced?
Oh, you could find this funny. Well, not funny. It was just like compared to what I just told you, it's not like as severe.
Yeah.
But this is when I got my wisdom teeth pulled out.
Really?
It wasn't even from that getting pulled, like from the actual procedure.
Yeah.
It was the medicine they gave me.
The medicine?
Yeah. Like I don't know what they I don't know what they did with it, but like getting my teeth pulled out, that was fine. But they said like take this medicine so you don't like get an infection or whatever. Okay, cool. So it was like take these 2 pills like day and night. You should be done with like a week or 2. The first two pills I took were fine, but after the second, I took the pills. I was like, okay, I'm gonna just like swallow these and go to bed, right? And for some reason, it felt like my brain was like eating itself. Like it felt like my brain was on fire. Like I couldn't like just simply breathing put me in the worst pain imaginable. Like all my sensory, like everything hurt.
Were you having a brain aneurysm?
I have no idea.
You never got it checked out?
No.
Did you just stop taking the medicine?
Look, the moment I stopped taking it, I was fine. It's like I was in so much pain, I couldn't sleep. Like if I moved, it felt like I got shot all over again.
Yeah.
And so this went on for about 6 hours.
Oh my god.
And it was just like breathing hurt, just the lights hurt. I just had to like sit in a dark corner for all night. Just until it stopped.
Yeah. No, like that's like with like when my knees do what they do.
Yeah.
Like the slightest movement is the worst pain imaginable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that still happen?
Well, it hasn't happened since, but there's been times like where like I'll like feel like a little jolt and I'm like I quickly have to straighten it, otherwise I know it's going to do it. Yeah. My biggest fear around that though is like working, like if I'm like with kids and it happens, like, I don't want to freak the kids out. Yeah. But like I'm not gonna be able to control
what happens. Yeah. So will you like have to get like a brace or something for it?
Like in the future?
Yeah.
I don't know. I might have to like go through like other surgeries, but I really don't want to. I just like I can't be bothered.
I feel that. Yeah, that's why. Another weird thing is like when I woke up from like, being shot, my grandfather was like over me. He was like he had put me in the bed because I didn't go to the hospital. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, people of color, I get it.
Yeah. No, mainly because somebody in my family had got sick very recently and they weren't taking care of them as they should have been anyway, so that's probably why. Yeah. But I remember when I woke up, cause he had like sat next to me like until I woke up, and he's like, "Look, I know what you just went through is like pretty like it's probably the most traumatic thing you ever went through. But just don't tell anybody about this."
Did you not tell your mom?
No, they don't know about this.
They don't?
They don't know about
it. They do now.
Hey, Mom.
Oh my God.
And like, here's the thing. It was like most of my wound was practically like healed up by the time I woke up, which is the weird thing. Because if you look at it now, it doesn't look as bad as like some other gunshot wounds. Yeah. Like, and I guess, like, to be fair, it didn't, like, penetrate me. It kind of just grazed me, but still.
Yeah, like, you didn't, like, your grandpa didn't have to, like, take it out.
Unfortunately, he passed away, like, beginning of this year. so I couldn't like talk to him about it. Because when I started like going to college, he got very sick, and so I was more worried about him like being around than me like asking like these, because I had like a lot of questions I wanted to ask him and stuff like that. And that was like one of the main ones I wanted to ask him, like what happened after I passed out.
Yeah.
But up until like a year ago, he was there, but he wasn't there. Like he got to the point where he's just in a wheelchair, just doing whatever. So unfortunately, I'll probably never get the answer to that, but I still appreciate him being there.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, that's not where I was expecting the story to go.
Yeah, nobody does.
Mm-mm.
And so when people ask me like, why you don't go out? Why you don't just like, because of the incident, I'm very cautious around people.
That's understandable.
Yeah, but I try to have like some semblance of like a social life. You still you have to not let it affect you as much, but you still need to take that precaution, especially nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
With you don't know what's gonna happen. So whenever I go to like parties, or if I get like invited to a party, I'm usually the bouncer. Which is if you look at me, it's like, who the hell is he keeping out? But most people, like I said, they see me as like the father figure.
Yeah.
So they're more comfortable with me being outside than just like their friends probably be drunk or whatever, like in the next 20 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't go to parties anymore. Well, I try not to. I went to, I think, 3 this semester. And like one of them was like I actually had fun. And I think I only really enjoyed it because it was a costume party. And so like I have like a rule now, like I'm only going to go to a party.
The people you know?
Well, yeah, but if it's a costume party.
Oh. Just hide your identity.
Yeah. Oh my god, is that it? No.
Just being anonymous. It's just your thing.
That it really is. Like
anonymous grandma. That's your new tag.
I appreciate it. But no, like people have too many questions about me and I can't.
Well yeah, we live in like in a society. But no, it's just like people want to know about other people.
Yeah. And
then they meet you and you're just like, yeah.
No, I feel like I don't know if you or any of the, did you say 7 people listening?
7, 8 people.
I don't, but the song by Lorde, Liability.
Oh, that song.
Yeah, there's like the lyric in it that goes, "You're a little much for me, you're a liability," and I'm like, yeah, like I get that a lot. Like people like, they'll like find me interesting for whatever reason, then like when like they get to know me, they're just like, you're a lot. I'm like, I know, but I'm not gonna pretend to be anything else.
Yeah.
So
some more than others carry a lot of baggage with them.
Yeah.
And once you start to really like know a person, then you really start to see like what makes, like that's why I asked you earlier, like what makes you, because that comes with.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like
I have a question for you about that, because like there's been a few things you said that like recently, but like most of my life, like I get a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like the grandma thing, like people always say that about me, but also like, do you just like based on the few encounters we've had and like even like before like I said some of the stories I did, what about like, could you tell certain things about like my past or like that, like I've gone through certain things?
Oh, absolutely.
How and why?
Well, I actually studied psychology back in high school. I was doing a dual enrollment. So for those who don't know, dual enrollment is when you're in high school, but you'll take like college courses while you're in high school. So for me, I took psychology and English and some other stuff like that just to get some extra credits.
Yeah.
And like I said, my mom, she's in law enforcement. She works for the city government. And for a while, it was just me and her. So whenever she was watching Cops at 5 a.m, I was watching Cops.
Yeah.
Whenever she was watching CSI, so it was pretty much me and her. So that's kind of like where it started, and because of that, that's how I'm able. And plus, everything up until this point is how I'm able to like read certain cues from other people.
Yeah.
Cause like you're like I said, you're very, I don't know. Hold on. You get my word.
I'm not gonna be offended.
No, it's not that. I just want to get the proper words right. But no, like I said earlier, you have a certain warmth about you. And you, like I said, you have the same energy my grandma has, and that's not very prevalent in a lot of younger people. I feel like that in order to get some of those aspects, you have to go through something to get that.
Okay. Yeah. People, I.
You're very humble.
Am I? I try, but I sometimes feel like I'm like way too confident for my own good.
There's nothing wrong about being too confident.
But I've been asking people, because like I do study psychology, and I find it like more second nature to read people. It just kind of like I don't try to, but
it just happens.
Yeah, and like I like even like read tarot and things like on like the other like spooky side of things, but like I find myself kind of just like knowing things about people, and like I'll like say something, be like, oh yeah, like that's because of this, and they're like, how do you know? I'm like, I know because I mean I pay attention, but I'm not really used to people
reading you.
Yeah.
It's like you looking through the telescope, but somebody's looking back at you.
Yeah, and I'm like I understand like how I like can read people, like I see certain things and whatever, but like I don't understand like the certain cues that I give out. And like my friend, I was just talking to my friend Joey. Shout out to you, Joey, again. And like I just like asked him, I was like, oh, like what? Because he said like he could tell like I've seen some stuff, and I was like, what about me? And he said like something like about just like awareness.
Yeah.
And like, but I don't know. Like I like to figure out how.
Like, what about you gives other people this like vision of like the type of person you are?
Yeah.
What do you like? What have you been through?
And also just like I like to see how people perceive other people, like me, and also like in friend groups. Like I'll ask like at like a group dinner, I'll be like, okay, does everyone say like 2 things you think about like this person, or like 2 like descriptive words, because it tells me more about like that person, but also how
they view that person
and like how like a person like, because that says a lot about a person, how they view someone else.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Oh,
Was
absolutely.
that English? Okay.
At least I understand.
Okay. The 7 people, I don't know. I'm sorry.
I think you could have a very intellectual conversation with.
I try. But some people really don't want to like have intellectual conversations.
You just want like what was your experience with that?
Well, I'm very much into Myers-Briggs personalities, which I know some people like really love, some people just absolutely hate it or just feel indifferent about it. But I do believe like that is part of why I am the way I am and why other people don't particularly like me. So, yeah, I am very introverted and very passionate about things. And like when I meet someone or have a conversation, I don't like small talk. Like I want.
Like you want to get to the meaty stuff.
Yeah, like I'm that like annoying friend who will like ask like questions that no one else asks, and like I want to know people. I want to hear people's stories. I want
to get to know them.
I want to have a conversation with a person, not
Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah, or just like not like their archetype. And that does annoy some people. Like people just sometimes don't really.
Yeah, for some people it takes more time for them to open up.
Yeah, and like it's different. Like I understand like if you're like more closed off or whatever, like that's fine. But like even having like a deeper conversation about something, instead of just saying, "Oh yeah, it's pretty cold out today," like that's not a conversation. Like maybe talk about climate change or like anything else like about that, or just.
We talk about that's a myth. That's a myth.
It
was made by the bourgeoisie. We all know this.
Oh my god, the bourgeoisie. My grandpa was in the bourgeoisie.
Really?
Yeah. Or that's not for this. That's not for now. But yeah, I don't know. People
are interesting, and yet they're a mystery all at once.
Yeah.
It's hard to really pinpoint where everybody is these days. It's like they might seem like a one-note person, but you stay like if you analyze them long enough, they could be a completely different person.
Yeah, and also like people do change.
Yeah. Like me.
Like you. How much have you changed?
I mean, when I was like growing up, like middle school, high school, I was like super introverted. Like I wouldn't say like, cause like the way my high school was, it was high school, air quotes.
Yeah.
It was weird because it wasn't like traditional high schools. So the building was actually my not elementary school. It was my preschool. Cause it was like a church elementary school type thing.
Okay.
But that's school bought them out. Well, bought the building like in 2005, 2006. They turned into like a middle school, high school. But they were still working out like on the details. So at the time I started middle school, we went to a classroom that was across the street. We didn't have classes in the actual building. We went there for lunch, but that was it.
Okay.
And then when I started high school, they had our own separate campus just for our class for some reason because they couldn't decide what. My graduating class was the one they did all the weird experiments on. Like
you were the guinea pigs.
Exactly. And since you brought that up, and you're a teacher, you're gonna find this funny.
Okay.
So when I was in this middle school, high school, we went through a lot of teachers. Like the turnaround rate was pretty bad.
Oh no.
So my first history teacher, we were going over. It was like halfway through the second semester. Well, no, first semester, and we were talking about Egypt and like how they make mummies and stuff.
Yeah.
This is back when we had Saturday classes.
You had Saturday classes?
Yep.
Ew.
Yeah.
Gross.
And normal class, and here's before I even get to the other thing I was about to tell you. My 6th grade year, we had class from 7:30 till 5:30, and you would take each class twice a day.
Why?
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. So.
Oh my god! And the teachers had to work the whole shift.
Mm-hmm.
That should not be legal.
That's probably why they stopped doing it.
It
was only our grade too. It was only my class.
God.
Like we were the guinea pigs for my whole school. But no, so it was like, hey, you have a math. So if you have like a math class you just hate for passion, you're taking that twice a day. And God forbid it would be, because like it would be 1st through 6th period, lunch, then 6th through 1st period. So if you had like I said, a math class that you hate in high school and it was like 6th period, you're taking that back to back after lunch.
That is so dumb. I was trying to find like a more eloquent way of saying what there's no.
Oh no, if you think that's dumb, you're gonna love the rest of this. So my history teacher, it's like halfway through the second semester, and we were supposed to go on a field trip to like a museum, because surprisingly enough, Memphis has a lot of museums, but people just don't go to them because there's no clubs there. So we had like the permission slips and like paid like $5 to go on the field trip or whatever, and we were going over like how they make mummies. So we're like doing like little experiments in class or whatever. Like she bought like a whole bunch of Barbie dolls and got some tissue. Just weird, but it was like it's a lot more interactive than what we've been doing.
Yeah. So
we're working, and
I just can't get that image of the mummified Barbie dolls.
Yeah, and then we would like let them dry on top of this bookshelf too. So they're just sitting there.
You just walk in the classroom, there's just mummified Barbie dolls.
Yeah.
Wow.
So she's taking the money for this permission, like for this field trip, And Saturday was the last day. And she's like, okay, class Tuesday, we're going to go to this museum. We're going to talk about Egypt and blah, 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 blah. Monday rolls around. She's nowhere to be seen. And at first, we're like, okay, cool. We don't have first period. Whatever.
Yeah.
Then the teacher's like, hey, have you heard from her? I'm like, no. No, and like all the faculty are looking for her. Tuesday, I hear from one of my teachers during lunch that she just dipped. She left the state.
She left the whole state?
Yeah. With the money that we got from the field trip.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh, we're just getting started. You're about to see a trend here.
Okay.
Let's fast forward to...
I'm dying right now. Oh my god.
So we're gonna fast forward a little bit to my sophomore year of high school. This is back when I was doing robotics, like FRC. So it's like robotics teams for like different schools or whatever. And our coach was actually one of our engineering teacher from 7th grade. Even though we didn't really do much engineering, we just learned how to use Microsoft Excel.
Yeah.
But she was supposed to be our coach, so she's supposed to like help us do like all the paperwork and be like the adult for all these children trying to like do robotic stuff and compete with different competitions and stuff. And so what we would do is like after class, like when we got out around 5:30, I think it was like 4 after. Yeah, it was 4 o'clock. Yeah. So at 4 o'clock, me and my group of friends, it's kind of like when I start opening up to other people, because it's like less people to deal with, and I can try to like learn more about them and like try to not be as awkward.
Yeah.
So it was us. It was like six or seven of us. We would just like work on the robot, and we would just hang out for the most part until it was time to go around 6 o'clock. And in the meantime, like we were trying to get sponsors, like pay for parts and go for the competitions and stuff like that. So my godmom, Leslie, shout out to you. She would, I think it was like her and some other parents, like got like a whole bunch of like snacks for us to eat. I don't mean like no basic ass like fruit snacks or whatever. They bought a cart of shit.
Oh.
Like a lot of stuff.
Okay.
I'm talking about like a whole pallet at like Target full of food. We
I'm
had
talking
like
about food right now.
I'm sorry, but we had that, and we didn't really have like a place to put it because we didn't have like a dedicated like workshop for all our stuff. So our robotics like equipment would go in the basement, and the food and stuff went to the lunch lady because she was like, our lunch lady was like the Hitler of like lunch tables, or like the lunchroom.
Oh no.
Whatever went that cafeteria was hers. And she saw food that's going in her office, and we all know she was like munching our food while we weren't there, but whatever.
God.
So our coach, one day we're getting ready for a competition, right? We're trying to get the robot set up. We're doing tests and stuff, and one day she just disappears, just out the blue.
Oh why?
And we had already given her like the money for like. No, to drive off to Knoxville.
How much was that?
It was a lot of money. It was like, I don't remember the exact number, but I want to say upwards of 200 each. Anywhere from like 50 to 200 because you had to pay for driving. That's like a 6-hour drive, depending on which way you go. You had to pay for the hotel. Then you had to pay for, us getting like food and stuff at the competition. Then you had to pay for uniforms for the team. And then there's like some other expenses after that, because you gotta pay for like to go to the event and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're getting ready, and she just disappears. We're like, where's our coach? And apparently she left town too, with the money for our team, and she took all our snacks.
Oh my god, that's where it hurts, taking those snacks.
We had Capri Suns, we had Chips Ahoy, we had the good shit.
Not the Capri Suns.
We had
Why didn't you have like a treasurer who was in charge of collecting the money?
She was the treasurer because she.
Wait, of the whole school?
No, of the team. No,
like, why wouldn't you have like a person since this is a trend at your school,
yeah,
that the faculty will do that, shouldn't there be someone
because our whole like high school is like going through.
Of the school.
It was a very small school, and like the guy who like started the school, he had just left like a year or two ago, worked something else out. It was him, and then like I want to say the year before we had our first graduating class, so we were still pretty new. We weren't like around for like 20, 30 plus years. And but yeah, she just ran off with the cash, took our snacks. We had no coach. and all the parents like, what the hell?
Was she found like
I have no idea.
By the police?
I have no idea.
Like, was there a warrant out for her arrest?
Roshonda, if you're listening to this, you owe me $200 and all the Doritos that you stole from me.
Yeah, and the freaking Capri Suns. Like, that's just not right.
Yeah. I mean, also that same year, our Spanish teacher and her husband, who worked at the school, they both got fired for extortion.
Oh my God.
They were like on the news. That's how bad it was.
No, I had a teacher. Oh, I don't know if I can say this. I went to a private Catholic school in Minnesota, and we had a teacher who transferred over to another Catholic school, and she transferred over to an all-boys school. But it like got out that she was apparently selling drugs to the students, and she had like a sort of like relationship. I feel like people are gonna like be able to find me now that I'm telling this story and find her. But like she was like having like this like she wanted to have a relationship like with one of the
boys?
Male students.
Oh no.
And like they were like texting. But she had used to work at the school I went to my freshman year. She was my religion teacher. She was the religion teacher. Sorry if I blew out everyone's ears there. But
what's her religion?
I guess she was Catholic, in quotations. A Minnesota Catholic, as I like to call it. But she, like, I'm, based on, like, some evidence and people I've known, I'm pretty sure she was selling drugs at my school, too. And this was a private Catholic school.
Yeah. Yeah, when it happened, it was like for us, it was just like I don't know the specifics, but I assumed they were just like taking money from the school.
Yeah.
And I know they were like also involved with some other like school activities like at other places, so that's probably why they got so blown up.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was, and then I think somebody else got fired that year too, but I don't remember. I wasn't really like familiar with them. So it was like a trend, like don't get attached to these teachers because they're gonna be gone.
Okay, well, no, that's bad advertising for me.
Well, I'm not saying you, but it's just like if you feel like your teacher's doing something very shady,
they probably are.
Yeah. So just like just be mindful of like who's teaching your children.
Or like if you just go to school in Memphis, just be cautious.
Yeah, I mean just anywhere really.
Don't pay for field trips unless you got a good security and insurance system set up at your school.
Ask the principal first. I would say just give the money to the principal. But then again, the principal could be in on it too. So you just don't trust anybody.
Oh my God. Yeah.
There's just no way around it, really.
Wow. How did we end up here?
You have to be cautious that your teachers, the students, it's everything.
Yeah.
The school system's fucked up.
The government. The president, but I feel like we already know that.
Yeah. You just nodded your head.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was a lot. I mean, we went from talking about Australia
and now
to being shot to bad teachers.
I was the teacher. I was like a student teacher briefly, but it wasn't for me.
Really?
Yeah, I was more like a counselor than anything else.
Oh.
I worked with I worked at a community center at this like for a summer. It paid pretty well, but I didn't get my check until like to the end because like through a government program. For like half of it, I was just like paid to just sit around and make sure the kids didn't kill each other.
Oh yeah.
But I tried to at least like talk with some of them and like try to see what they want to do besides just go to school. I had like a drawing class very, very briefly. But yeah,
Wow.
like I said, it just wasn't for me. Maybe I might go back into it when I semi-retire from doing whatever, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, it definitely isn't for everyone. And even, I'm not going to say where I work, but there are a few locations I've worked at, and I can just tell, like, some of these teachers just don't really enjoy kids.
It's like, why you pick this profession if you knew?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, like, it makes it bad for everyone, like, and me working with them.
So even still, like, the kids are going to remember that when they get older. Because I'm telling you now about all the shitty teachers that I've had. Yeah. And that was 10 years ago. Just imagine what these kids are going to be going through. It was like, yeah, my teacher, she just smoked her blunt and talked about the ABCs in Puerto Rican. And she's white, so she don't know why she's speaking in Puerto Rican.
I had a teacher. She was actually she was a lovely teacher. Some people just really didn't like her because she was kind of strict. But, like, if you got on her good side, like, you were good. I was on her good side.
Yeah.
But she would always go. We had this, like, little garden. I think it was, like, the garden for, like, the Holy Mother. And it had, like, a statue of Mary in it and, like, all these, like, beautiful, like, flowers and butterflies, whatever. She would always go out there during like, her, like, free period. And she would just, like, be smoking in the garden. And I'm like, you're not actually allowed to smoke on school
It's
property.
ironic if you think about it.
It was beautiful. Like, she was so old, she did not care.
Yeah. Like I said, old people just don't care after a while. It's like, look, I've been on this earth long enough to know what I can and can't do.
But she'd always, like, come back. Because I had her class right after lunch, and that's when she'd always just, like, be out there the whole time. She would, like, walk back in the room with her, like, dusty leather jacket, like, full of smoke, and she would, like air it out and take it off. Like, the whole room would just, like...
smell like cigarettes.
Yeah.
So I do have one more question for you before we head out.
Yeah.
What's you smelling?
This is, like a little charm I make. I'm into, like, spooky stuff, I told you.
Yeah, that's right.
This is one of those.
That's
it's like
cute.
aromatherapy.
Oh, that's cool. But my question I want to ask you is kind of, it's not really just like a one-note question. It's kind of like what's your hot take on this? But in terms of, like, we've been talking about, like, reading people and, like, anxiety and depression and stuff like that. Why do you think it's so prevalent in, like, millennials and, like, younger people nowadays than before?
Well, I mean, like, I can really only think of it with my own experience and, like, my own lens to a certain point. And I know for me, personally, like, I didn't really have issues with anxiety. Like, depression, yes, but, like, that's, like, a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Like, there's reasons, like, not necessarily, like, society, but, like,
personal reasons.
Situational depression.
Yeah.
But, like, with anxiety, I've definitely gotten more anxious this past year. And, like, I'm sure, like, you've noticed, like, in class, which annoys me so much because I've never really been anxious. And I don't have a problem with public speaking. Like, as I said, like, I'm probably too confident in, like, most situations. And anxiety has never, like, really been a thing. But recently, I think because I've gotten, like, really close with certain people who do have a lot of anxiety, I feel like I've kind of swallowed all of their anxiety up.
You just sucked it up and now it's inside you.
And now, like, it's in me because, like, that's so annoying because, like, these are, like, just very strong emotions, but they're not even my emotions. But
part of the grandma experience.
Yeah, it's annoying and exhausting, but, like, if it helps people, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
Glad to do it. But I know, like, some of my friends, like, if they haven't, like, really had an obvious reason for being anxious, I do think there is, like, a sort of culture about just, like, with social media, like, you see all these people, like, putting out their best images of their best life that can kind of, like, make people, like, second guess what they're doing in their life, and, like, they forget that this is just, like, not even a window into someone else's life. Like, this is just a billboard of someone's life. So, like, that definitely adds a lot of pressure, and it doesn't help with, like, insecurities. But also, I've noticed a lot I'm actually going to do this for my discussion. In film and like just shows and just stories, there's a lot about the world ending.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like most depictions of the future are of the apocalypse or like this like post-apocalyptic utopia where there's like these incredibly intelligent young people, like 12-year-old kids, like solving problems and like doing like these crazy adventures and whatnot. And I do think that does cause some like psychological worry,
because it's like you're reading the story, but it's like you feel like there's some like realism in there.
Well, there's just like, I think because there's so many, like there's like most any story about the future is about the world ending. I haven't really found like many good depictions of the future that aren't terrifying,
right.
But it almost comes just like to be like so deeply instilled in our minds that like everyone now kind of just like is just like, oh yeah, like the world's gonna end.
Yeah, because we all have like grown up with like that, at least with like some theory that it's gonna happen. Because at first it was like 1999.
Yeah.
And then it was 2012.
I mean, also like 9/11.
Right, too. I remember that one.
But just like all like these things, like we're just, especially like our generation,
because
from our generation on forward, it's kind of just like the world is ending, and it's just there's almost like not even so much of like an active panic about it, because like it's just like we've just accepted, which bothers me, and so like I think movies and like storytellers, I feel like have a responsibility to their audience of like what they're kind of saying and like the importance and the weight of like something of like the world is ending, because like that does cause a lot of anxiety, like underline like what's the point and it's all gonna end, like pessimism, but also just like the panic, but like not really connecting certain things.
Actually, it's actually one of the topics I talk about in my book coming out next year.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of, but I'm doing a relaunch. People first bought the book, they really liked it. It was just a little bit longer. And this actually ties into like a project I've been working on for 10 plus years. But to kind of like gauge like how people might perceive this universe, like to get them interested, I'm basically making like a coming of age story. So it talks really about like how people from like say the 80s grew up until a certain point where they're used to like how society works, and then there's gonna be like this big paradigm shift in society, and then like how do you deal with that afterwards. Like I said, I can't really get into everything all at once because I'm still trying to like work out all the key details.
Yeah. Also, you don't want any people stealing your material out there.
Yeah, they're gonna do it
the
anyway.
7 people.
Well, that's just the internet. They're gonna do it. Somebody's gonna do it anyway. I'll make a post about it eventually. Probably next, like I said, week or two, but we'll see.
Okay. It's exciting.
Okay. Is there, before we head out, is there anything else you want to say to our audience?
Well, that's a lot of pressure.
You're anonymous grandma, remember?
That's right. Well,
You be unapologetic as much as you want to.
what would an anonymous grandma say? Carpe diem, old sport. If you know what those are referenced from, shout out to you. If not, read a book.
Oh, I know what that's from.
What is it?
Great Gatsby, right?
One of them is, yeah. What's the Carpe diem from?
Which one is that? I know what it is. I don't remember the name of it. I know Carpe Diem and Seize the Day.
Yeah.
But which book is it from?
Well, famously from a movie.
Which movie?
Which is about literature. You don't know it?
No, I'm stumped.
Dead Poets Society.
Oh.
Robin Williams' best work. I'm gonna get hate for that one. But
he's like, no. He was in shit. Which movie was he in?
Probably people would say like Aladdin or Mustafar was his best work.
Yeah, well, that's what everybody knows him from.
Yeah, but no, like that's a great film if you want to cry. Good movie.
Just think about Robin Williams makes you want to cry.
I know.
He's such a good man.
Right. Another quote for you guys, which if you don't know this one, I'm gonna be hurt. Stay golden, pony boy.
Stay golden, pony boy.
Yeah.
Give me a hit.
Are you serious?
Just give me a hint.
Like that is the hint. Like you would, if you knew it, you would know. Ponyboy is the main character of the book called The Outsiders.
Oh, I never read The Outsider.
That's one of my favorite books.
Okay, I guess I have another book to add to my list. I have
Yeah.
a whole library just stacking up.
No, like that's a good read. It's very quick read too.
Okay, I might check that out.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming by. I know it's kind of late, so I want to make sure you get out here on time.
What time is it?
Skin
Why
up.
am I looking? Like, what time is it? Looking at my invisible watch.
It's melanin o'clock.
It is. Oh wow. Wow. Okay. Oh well.
Thank you for showing up,
Thank you for having me.
and thank you all for tuning in once again. I know we seemed like we were rambling on. We kind of got deep today. But, sometimes when you have these adult conversations, and it's good to at least talk about what's going on. Not to say that this is all we're going to do, but, we might talk about conspiracy theories here and there, but I want to make sure that we stay, I don't know, like, consciously aware of, like, where we are.
Yeah. I'm sorry if I am boring.
No. You're fine.
All right.
I enjoy talking to you.
Thank you. I enjoyed talking to you. Wow, this is like a classic Mr. Rogers goodbye.
It's all coming full circle.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, like I said. And, leave a like. And if you listen to this on Spotify or whatever platform you listen to podcasts, I don't know. I don't know just like a like system, but like, yeah, just stay tuned for the next episode. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Zach the Insomniac. I'll be posting more information there with more videos, upcoming events that I'm trying to work out. And yeah, see you later. Bye.
Bye.